I came here on Friday. We had a big meeting with development partners on what the Kenya government is doing.
The Ministry of Education has raised concerns after more than 200,000 learners failed to appear for grade 7 admission. Learners are supposed to be in their 4th week of junior secondary following the onset of learning on the 30th of January. This follows a concern as many public schools struggle structurally to host the pioneer junior secondary school students, while most private schools seem to be ahead of the game. The delay is attributed to the delayed deployment of teachers to their new stations, among other conditions. Let's take a look. While private junior secondary schools carry on with their academic activities, the majority of public secondary schools are struggling to kick off. This struggle is attributed to the delayed deployment of teachers to schools by the Teacher Service Commission and infrastructure strains, among other reasons. The Ministry of Education has raised concerns after more than 200,000 learners failed to appear for grade 7 admission. The learners are supposed to be in their 3rd week of junior secondary following the onset of learning on the 30th of January. Parents and learners are in a crisis as many public junior secondary schools are struggling with an influx of a large number of learners and high fees charged by private institutions. Among those private primary schools ahead of the game to host the pioneer junior secondary school include Bomet-based Galaxy schools, where the junior secondary classes stand alone away from primary schools as in public and other schools. According to the school's director, Patricia Tanui, they wanted to make a difference among the students by separating them from primary school pupils. She hailed the recent research that indicated that most parents prefer the competency-based curriculum to the previous 844 system, further thanking the Education Ministry for not discriminating against private schools in the implementation of the new curriculum.
I want to thank the Ministry of Education through the County Director, Bomet, for giving us a chance to host junior secondary school. It nurtures the talents of the learners.
In addition, the Bomet County Director of Education, Mr. Apollo Apuku, hailed the school, terming it as a model that schools should benchmark on. He advised the junior secondary students to shun primary school behaviors by being disciplined and mature, and also cautioned them against premature sexual relationships.
JSS means junior secondary school, and therefore you are no longer in primary, but you are in secondary. And therefore the behavior and the way you engage with other students should be the behavior of mature students in secondary school. Mature behavior means that you must really be respectful. Respectful to your teachers, respectful to your fellow students, and respectful to your parents. This is what we call discipline.
More than 1 million learners are joining junior secondary schools at a time when the government is yet to finalize the deployment of 30,000 teachers to teach the newly introduced section of schools. The government is faced with the headache of teachers shortage and inadequate facilities, though it released guidelines on the junior secondary schools. Teachers, parents, and other educational stakeholders say there are many gray areas to be addressed. But amidst the challenges, the government has directed head teachers to make do with the available resources and infrastructure as they admit the learners. Bitis Njeri, GBS News. Once again, thank you for joining us, for joining this live broadcast, and of course, do keep the comments coming in through our SMS line 21144 and GBS TV Africa in all our social media handles. And of course, tonight we'll be talking about the junior secondary teething problems and the delocalization of teachers. And to have this conversation, I am joined virtually by one education analyst, Wilkista Moirore. Good evening, and how are you?
Good evening, Madam, and I'm fine. I'm fine.
Thank you so much for making time out of your busy schedule and of course to join us here tonight. And now just to kickstart with the conversation, just what we have checked from the previous story, we did see a talk about comparison between the public primary school and the private primary schools, and of course on how they have transitioned with the junior high school. And as we speak, this is starting today, the beginning of the 4th week of the junior high school, but we're still facing a lot of challenges in terms of admission in the public sector compared to the private sectors. And of course, we did have a bit of a time. And of course, if I say maybe just to put in 6 years to prepare for this, are we ready? And what have we done so far and what needs to be done?
All right. Thank you. Thank you so much, Madam, for having me. I think we are still struggling as a country, but we need to take it as our issue. It is not the government issue, it's not the parents, it's not the teachers. It is our issue as a country. I think some areas they have kick-started the process, but there are a few teething problems that probably we need also to address. One is the issue of teachers. I think there is a gross deficit of teachers that are handling junior secondary schools. When the government employed around 30,000 teachers, those teachers were actually graduates trained to teach higher cadre students. And you'll find that a teacher, for example, is trained in Kiswahili and CRE, for example, and is supposed to teach mathematics, home science, integrated science, and so forth. I think that is becoming a challenge because some teachers are even saying some of those subjects they are told to teach, they did not even learn them at high school. So I think that is one of the big challenges. There is also this other challenge of the teacher having lessons that are following each other. Their workload is quite high. So you'll find that you are coming out of a mathematics class. The next lesson, you go to do home science. The next lesson, you're handling the same people, the same teacher. I think it's creating a little bit of boredom. So that is another issue that needs to be addressed. The other issue also is about the content. What is emerging is that the content that the students are being exposed to, one is of higher order thinking. The topics themselves, they are those topics that are being learned currently in our high schools. So I think they need to scale down to topics that are at the level of that learner. Remember, this learner is around 12 or 13 years. They are not very mature, even mentally. The other issue is also about textbooks. There is an issue of textbooks. There is a complaint that the textbooks are not detailed enough. So the teachers are actually looking for their own materials to top up on whatever the government is producing. So let them give us a comprehensive content, and the content must match the ability of the learners. I think there are also issues about laboratories. We don't have enough laboratories. We want to do home science. We don't want to do anything integrated science. Where are these laboratories? So I think we need to address those issues seriously, because I think we might disadvantage this first cohort of students, and the government needs to do proper mapping. Now that already the students are in class, let them address those teething problems. But I'm so optimistic we are going to surmount all those challenges, but we must be hands-on. We must be hands-on so that we are able to address all those issues.
Thank you. And I particularly liked how you tabled the challenges that are going on, and you didn't talk about the subjects that the teachers are having to teach, the 12 subjects, and of course the additional 1 or 2. And now we are talking about teachers who are teaching these subjects, and there's a problem of those teachers being actually there. There's a problem of the localization of teachers being allocated to where they're supposed to be. That is a problem that actually public schools are having. And we had 6 years to prepare. What we are discussing now, many will agree with me, it's something that should have been arranged way back. Now this is just the first class of the junior high school, of course, dividing the competency-based curriculum of the middle class education. We have yet another grade 8, we have a grade 8 and a grade 9. Moving forward, what needs to be done differently to prepare for a seamless transition?
I think now, because already the government is aware of the challenges that they have, they need to do proper funding. Let them do proper funding, because this is the first cohort of students. Let us not give so many excuses, because I think we've been planning all along, and you cannot part of the planning is about resources, and resources are financial resources, the human resource, the physical resources themselves. When they were planning exactly where were they supposed to get these materials from? And again, you will also realize that there could be a lot of inequality now, because the private school seems to be more armed, prepared with even resources and structures more than the public school. So we might still perpetuate the aspect of inequality in our institutions or in our education sector. So let the government know, what do we need now that already the students are here? What do we need? Is it the laboratories? Where are they going to be? Is it are they the teachers that we need to train, or already there are those that are trained? Can we get some from the primary school? We take them to the junior primary schools. Do we have an idle set of teachers? Do we have an idle set of teachers? So can we make use of them, and probably at no extra cost? And I think one issue that was raised initially about this CBC was the issue of cost. And we are looking at the cost maybe in terms of implementation from the parents' end. But I think the government also needs to come out clearly and admit that this whole process is a little bit expensive. So for it to succeed, they really need to put money into this process. And it is money that will be put, now we have the first cohort of grade 7, then we have the grade 8, the grade 9. It is money up to when this very fast cycle will get to grade 12. So we need to be properly prepared, and we need to be on the ground, and we need to do it like on a termly or monthly basis, so that we are able to do a little bit of remedy. Otherwise, as we are talking, I think we might waste a whole cohort of students.
And now, of course, we did see about 200,000 students failing to report to the schools for their admissions. And of course, this is attributed to the cost of this education. And of course, we also talked about the public school having these challenges as well. And the government did allocate 15,000 for each student. I would like you to maybe tell us from your maybe expertise side, is that money enough? And then as you're talking about, there is a task force next month that is expected to give a report on the same and talk about what needs to be amended, what needs to be done. And as the government also achieved the 100% transition, where are we headed?
All right, thank you so much. One is the issue of that capitation of 15,000 per student. And I think that money might not be enough, considering that this is also the first cohort. You know, it requires a lot of setting up of so many structures. I think my proposal would be they should at least, this first cohort, the capitation was supposed to be a little bit higher, to build the labs, to build all those, to employ teachers and all that. Then going forward, after now you've built the lab, you know, you're not building a second one, then probably they can now scale down on the capitation. The other issue is also about the transition. I think some of our students, as it's being reported, almost 200,000 cannot be accounted for. So where are these students? Some might have dropped out because of early pregnancy. Some might have those places that are facing banditry. Are those students going to school? So I think another group might have been lost in that whole issue of banditry. Then there is also the issue of especially children going to small economic ventures, fishing, rice farming, and all that. And again, they abandoned the school. So we need to bring all those children back to school, because we need to avoid the aspect of child labor. So we need to have all those students in school. So we need, I think, because the government has data, that data should help us to plan and finance the activities going forward. Otherwise, the government has also tried, because you will find that in some of the schools, they have enough textbooks. They have also tried to allocate teachers, but still much more needs to be done so that we are at par, all of us, and this education should actually be an equalizer to all of us.
And of course, do remember to engage us and tell us what are the challenges that some of you guys are facing in terms of transitioning, maybe from your neighbor, based on your observation. Keep the conversation going through our SMS line 21144 and GBS TV Africa in all our social media handles. Now, I'd like us to move from that and just talk about the delocalization of teachers. What is happening? Of course, there was a motion raised just about a few days ago, and we could see a lot of senators coming in agreement, of course, and discussing the motion on the same. Before we even get to talk about it, Madam, let's first listen into what some of the recommendations they were making.
Has taken inordinately long to comply with the government directive. 2, inform the Senate how many requests by teachers to be transferred to their home counties have been granted, giving a breakdown per county and further state when the pending request will be processed.
Bring a teacher who's from outside the region or the locality where the kid or the children come from, Mr. Speaker. There are many things that that particular teacher or the students will even struggle with. Cultural issues, understanding the background of where the kids come from. Mr. Speaker, this is one policy that needs to be properly thought out.
It takes a long time for them to be able to even adapt to the kind of environment that they are expected to live in, and as a consequence, their ability to deliver, to work within the institution is hampered.
Teachers posted from other regions are unable to teach in those schools which are facing.
And if you are able to see that correctly, Madam Bikista, where you could see the senators, with the motion bring, of course, the Senator Munyi of Embu County did talk about a report from Teacher Service Commission, giving, of course, an update of the delocalization process and what is happening. And, of course, we did see another senator talk about the cultural differences, and we see another one talking about adapting to the environment. The other one did talk about security. Now, just to talk about these, teachers to be placed in their home counties. This is all the delocalization policy is mainly talking about. How will this ease and learning process for students and teachers?
One, I think there should be localization not be let TSC do it. Number two, I think we went to school so that we can have a global perspective to issues. I think you don't necessarily have to work in your home county for you to deliver results. Some of us are not in our home counties and we left there a long time ago. Education was supposed to be an eye-opener. However, the delocalization needs to be done with a humane face. Let those who are being delocalized, for example, not be taken very far away from their home counties. Again, look at the issue of age. Those who want to revert back to their home areas, probably they've worked out of their counties, their home counties for about 20 or so years. You can consider such cases. There are also other cases of teachers who have medical issues. Maybe they should go back to their home counties again. Again, there are also those teachers who have they are single parents. So you need to look at all those issues so that maybe you can give them some relief so that they don't spend a lot of money traveling and even relocating. But all said and done, I think we also need to give a chance to these young teachers who are being employed in their 20s, in their 30s and all that. They don't have to really work in their home counties. Let them travel, integrate so that we can also have a national outlook of the TSC. I think it looks a little bit funny when you went to this local primary school, you went probably to a local primary secondary school, and you're coming to work there. You might not have much to offer in terms of exposure. And the other issue is about also security. Let also teachers be posted in areas that are secure. Let them teaching be as an essential service, especially those areas that are currently facing banditry and there is a lot of there is operation. Let the teachers be treated as essential service providers so that they are also protected. Otherwise, delocalization per se was not really a bad idea. It was only that it was done one in a lash. Number two, it didn't really help to solve the problem that was being solved. It actually created more problems to some teachers. I know of some teachers who went to an area where they initially had hardship allowance. They were delocalized to an area without a hardship allowance, and they had committed their salaries. So I think that became a challenge to them, and they could not really deliver because they didn't have money. We also have teachers who have benefited from the delocalization. They came from areas that didn't have hardship, but they went to areas that with hardship. And so right now, if you tell them to go back to their original counties, they will not agree because they have benefited in terms of monetary terms. So again, as the TSC is doing it, I think I was listening to one TSC, CEO TSC, and she said, you want us to delocalize teachers, take back to their home counties, yet those home counties are overstaffed. maybe a place like Nairobi or Nyeri. So how are we going to do it? Let the process not be rushed. Let them have priorities of those teachers who are probably about to retire, those who are sickly, those are single parents. Let them be given first priority before now we start looking for, staffing or the others, or balancing, an act of balancing for all the staffing. We cannot have some counties that are overstaffed, others are understaffed. So I think let politicians stop politicizing the issues. After all, they are also not working in their home counties. See, we found them in Nairobi. Are they all from Nairobi? So wametoka West Pokot and all those places. I think let's give education a chance to also have us a global perspective to issues.
Thank you so much. And of course, you did make a remark there talking about how global education is supposed to be. And of course, that is supposed in terms of exposure to give people, of course, the chance to be able to move from their places. But then again, we did have the Bomet Senator, Segei Wakili, if you could listen perfectly, he did talk about the inability to adapt to the new environment. And he did talk about the cultural differences that makes the teacher and the students being unable to get along properly. And that is, of course, the ability to deliver is then again hampered. Now, if you're advocating for teachers, of course, to be able to move around in terms of exposure and everything, how are we going to be able to do that in places where their cultures are so different? How will that affect the education for the learner?
I think we need to stop being a little bit inward thinking, especially the politicians. And I think they are really messing up this whole issue. Why would, for example, in a country like Kenya, which culture can't you adapt to? What is this that they are doing that is so special or so unique that you cannot really adapt to? And are you really going to be part of that culture, or you're going to teach? So I think some of those issues, they are neither here nor there. And I think that is why we are getting it all wrong. If I go, for example, to the Karenjin land, of course, there are very positive cultures I would pick from there, or Luoland or whatever. There are a few cultures that I'll pick there that are positive. And of course, there are also things that they'll pick from me, from another tribe. And that is why there was the essence of that integration. You know, the cultures, if they have been practicing that culture, there must be something to learn from that culture. And you are not a culture ambassador. You are going to teach. You're going to the classroom to teach and also learn the way that they live. So I don't think the issue of culture is either here or there. And that is why sometimes we are even politically, we are in our tribal cocoons, and you find people they are so rigid. They don't want even to change, or they just want to do things the way they were doing or the way they do it in their area. And it also brings problems to us as a country. That's why you will find that even breaking those tribal barriers becomes an issue. I think we need to have some kind of integration. Let people move. As long as the place is secure, let everybody move to where they want to go. Let them interact, let them practice those cultures, let them borrow from the positive cultures and come on and also implement in their areas. I think it should not be condemned in totality. I think it should be a good idea. It should be a good idea. And I think there are so many things to learn from other people.
And of course, Madam Ikiza did talk about the need for education is global, and of course there is need to explore and move. And make sure you tell us what are your opinion on the same in terms of the localization of teachers. Do you think it's okay for teachers to be teaching in their home countries, and how logical and applicable is that in terms of balance? Our SMS line is 21144 and GBS TV Africa on all our social media handles. And now, Madam, just moving forward in the conversation, we did talk about of course, the delocalization of teachers according to the places where they reside. And there are teachers who are moved very far away from the places where they stay. Maybe they are affected in terms of weather, in terms of many things that do change because, of course, the weather is different. Does that somehow affect the performance of the school in any way? Of course, I've seen you're very strong on the education being global, but does that at some point affect the performance for the students?
Sorry, come up again. I lost you. Sorry, I lost you, madam.
Yes, it's okay. And of course, I'll just maybe go back to the question that I was asking about the delocalization of teachers in their home counties. Now, you have teachers who are moved from different counties, and maybe does that somehow affect the performance of the students? Maybe when the teacher goes there, the way they are able to adapt, because a few senators did talk about the adaptation of the environment and everything. Can that affecting the way the teacher does that affect the way the teacher teaches in any way?
I personally don't think it can affect the way the teacher is teaching, unless, again, as I said, there are issues of insecurity. If your life is not threatened, I don't think it is an issue. And I wish you visit some of those places and you are new, you are from a different tribe. You will realize that most of those people will even respect you. They will love you in most instances, unless there are other issues. And again, when you're also teaching students that don't know even your background and all that, you're likely to deliver more than those teachers who are teaching in their home village. People know you, they know your grandmother was probably a witch or something like that. Now they can even bring those issues to you in school. And maybe you are not practicing something like that, but it can affect even how you are delivering the services. I think let people move. Even if you're not moving very far, for example, you can move to a different sub-county or a different county that is neighboring if the issue of delocalization is an issue, but let people not teach where they were born and brought up. It is actually likely to even affect the performance. There is also a lot of village politics surrounding those areas, and a lot of complacency. You will find out because you are coming from this area, somehow you have immunity, the community cannot do anything to you. So you'll find yourself, you are not even delivering, because after all, you are not answerable to anyone. They are seeing you as a small god. So I think people need to move, explore, and so that they are also able to impart knowledge to their students. And again, even as we are talking about delocalization, these students that we are teaching, especially in high schools, are they also from the same area? When you go to a school, a national school, a high school, you will find students from all over. So why do we want the teachers to be so local? And yet the students themselves are not local. So I think we need to look at those issues in depth, and we do the delocalization with a human face, and let everybody feel at peace. Let them.
Thank you so much. Maybe you can hold on to that point. And of course, there's a lot to talk about when it comes to matters, delocalization of teachers in the junior secondary school crisis. But maybe you can just give us a few seconds because of time. You're parting short on all the cases.
One, the issue of CBC, there the government will look at the issue, and this the working party, the task force, let them give practical solutions to the government. Let them not present papers, just papers. Let them give practical solutions so that we are able also to move forward. We need to stop now having this debate of, I think, teething problems and all that. I think we should be working by now. The other issue about delocalization, let the government be, the TSC especially, not be politicized a lot. Let them do their work. They are professionals, and I know they'll handle all issues professionally. So I don't think it should worry anybody. So again, let there be not a lot of pressure from those who want to be delocalized. Let there be a formula of some kind. We start with those who are retiring. Probably you can revert back to their home villages. Those probably who are sick, as I said earlier. Those probably who are sick.
Thank you so much, of course, for making time and coming here and joining us in this conversation. Would not have been the same without you, Madam Milkista Miruri. And of course, do make sure to keep the comments coming in through our SMS line 21144, and we do hope we can continue on the same. And of course, in all our social media handles, it's GBS TV Africa. Now, moving forward, Clara Chonga Kek, member of education in Kilifi County, asked teachers to work hard to ensure students excel in their national examinations. She made these remarks while attending a teacher's award ceremony in Malindi County. This comes a few weeks after schools were reopened and the premiering of the first junior secondary school. The registrator was accompanied by Rashid Othiambo, MCA Malindi Town Ward, Amina Mnyanzi, Member of Parliament Malindi County, Kasim Tandaza, Member of Parliament Matuga, and Gertrude Bayo, Women Representative Kilifi County. Here are the details.
Honorable Amina Laura Mnyanzi, together with our CCM.
A teachers awarding ceremony was held in Malindi County to award teachers for good performance in the Kenya Certificate of Primary Education exams and Kenya Certificate of Secondary Education exam performances.
Wako number 1, pia watapewa a trophy together with school. Unaweza chukua picha pia pamoja na MCA. Amewanunulia hii laptop
Management and performance are unpredictable and difficult to process to evaluate, but are key indicators of a school's success or failure. Clara Chonga Kek, member of education in Kilifi County, challenged teachers in Malindi to improve dwindling academic results. Clara noted that despite the small improvement, the county's pride subjects underperformed, the likes of Kiswahili and geography.
Alia matokeo and nimeona vile trajectory inavyopanda mwaka baada ya mwaka, hata kama ni kidogo, but there's a positive step up. Na nisikitiko kuona hata masomo yale ambayo tumeona ni ya huku pwani yako chini. IRE, Kiswahili, geography, such masomo ambao watu wa pwani uko wanajivunia kwa wako mbele ndio yako chini. Kwa hivyo walimu wa hayo masomo naomba, and I hope umeshare nao walimu wameona hiyo performance ya masomo na wataendelea kutia bidii.
Malindi Member of Parliament Amina Laura Mnyanzi commended teachers for taking care of learners in schools and asked them to continue to do so despite many challenges. She further promised to work closely with the teachers and the government because education is paramount.
Lenye ambalo mimi I do not want to joke on na sitaki kuliachilia abadan ni masuala ya elimu. Na ndio maana leo tumeona tuweze kuwaita walimu wetu. Kwa kile kichache ambacho tuko nacho, tuweze kuwazawadia kwa ile kazi kubwa ambayo wao wanafanya. Katika maisha ya mwanafunzi yoyote ambaye yuko shule, a very big percentage ya time wa mwanafunzi anaspend akiwa na mwalimu hata kuliko na mzazi wake pale nyumbani.
Kenya was heavily affected by a newly adopted competency-based curriculum in its first stages of implementation. One of the facets of education that had a significant increase in the focus was the area of assessment. There were some pre-COVID-19 concerns with technology that may increase the impact and risk of poor teaching, learning, and assessment practices, causing long-lasting damage to learners and teachers.
You check on the class. If at all there is
this year, we have several national examinations, including the Form 4 exams, the Standard 8 exams, Grade 6 pupils. These examinations are a national assessment that looks at what students have learned over the period they have been in school. Hence, teacher performance appraisal and development play a crucial part in enhancing staff performance, reward, motivation, and training.
The next thing you ask yourself is,
teachers are the drivers of education and learning progress in schools, whether it is an assessment of learning, assessment for learning, or assessment as learning. It is now clear that the goal of assessment is not only to give grades on the students' performance today, but to support their future learning and growth of self-regulated learning skills, the ability to set goals for their learning, and monitor their knowledge, skills, and behavior. Beatrice Njeri, GBS News.
Angry villagers this morning stormed Ulumbi High School in Gemiala Sub-County, protesting the Teacher Service Commission to post a principal whom they described as a non-performer. The early morning incidents brought a business to a standstill at the school as the placard waving parents and members of the local community vowed never to allow the new principal. According to the demonstrators led by chairman of the Ulumbi Village United, Moses Omoga, the incoming principal has a record of poor performance and was ejected from his previous station in Homa Bay County. Omoga said that they were defending the rights of their children for quality education and will not accept mediocrity. The school board of management chair, Ms. Liz Oduol, told journalists that she had received numerous complaints and threats from the community since the Teacher Service Commission announced the changes that removed the current principal. William Oyamo, who is to be replaced by Mr. Tom Boyer from Godber Secondary School in Homa Bay, among the threats said Oduor is the community will handcuff her together with Mboya and frog march them to the TSC offices as a sign of their disapproval of the same. Members of the local community vowed never to allow the new principal.
Us coming here today, we are exercising our right here to come and defend the rights of our children and also of our parents. This school used to produce a lot of A's. There was a time when we had over 30 people going to university. Today, only 2 people or 3 people can go to university. That's not what we expect. We just buried Magoha the other day, and he's from our own location here, Yala Township. You can't expect Magoha to be buried here, and then the school on the ground is doing nothing. We cannot accept that. 2, we are not fighting the TSC's appointment. We are hearing there's somebody new coming here. We don't mind that, but we want somebody who has better record, somebody who will come and deliver. We just don't want a replacement. Somebody will come and deliver for this place.
Hatutaki biashara kwa hii shule. Mwalimu Ragonga alikuwa hapa, principal the former. Shule ilikuwa inafanya vizuri, ilikuwa inaendelea vizuri. Lakini sasa imekuwa shule haiendelee vizuri, watoto wa perform vizuri. Sisi tumekasirika. Mimi nasema kama nimekasirika, ninataka watoto wetu waendelee vizuri, watatusaidia katika maishani mwetu.
And the whole community is not happy with that. And now the next principal that is being brought today is another mess altogether. He's a man who has gone under demonstration from the school he has come from. Yes. He's been chased from that school. In fact, the school area mates complained he only changes the vehicles from 1 million to another million, from 1 million to another million. Yes. There is no income.
I'm a resident of Gem. I'm the BOM chair. So as the chair of Ulumbi Secondary School, I have got a lot of complaints since I received a communication from the employer, who is TSC, that we would be having a change of guard in the CEO position. So I have consulted widely, and it's like the stakeholders and the community at large are not comfortable with the incoming. So I have some very damning WhatsApp texts, videos, where they are even telling me that if I will go ahead and receive the incoming, they are going to handcuff me with him and take me to the regional director's office in Kisumu with him. So as chair, I have tried my best. I have consulted widely. I have spoken to the TSC director, regional level, and he told me that I should do a letter that should be passed by the board so that we petition.
And on that note, we'll be taking our first commercial break. And of course, we have a lot of lined up for you here at GBS News at 9. But first, take that break.
Welcome to Mahanaim International High School. Are you worried about the character of your child? Mahanaim is the best Christian and character building school and offer British National Curriculum, IGCSE O-Level and GCE A-Level, and mixed day and boarding school. For more inquiry, call 0710 111 333.
Everywhere, GBS.
Welcome back. You're still watching GBS News at 9. And once again, thank you for joining this live broadcast. And now moving on with news stories making headlines. Manufacturers have today called on the government to develop and implement policies that will accelerate the transition to a circular economy. Speaking during the Loop Forum, which was hosted by Kenya Association of Manufacturers in partnership with Royal Danish Embassy in Nairobi, the Embassy of the Kingdom of Netherlands to Kenya, and the Ministry of Environment, Climate Change and Forestry and the Environment Cabinet Secretary Ms. Soipan Tuya reiterated government's commitment to transition Kenya from the linear model to a circular economy. Let's take a look.
Manufacturers have today called on the government to develop and implement policies that will accelerate the transition to a circular economy. Speaking during the Loop Forum, which was themed Accelerating the Circular Transition, Waste to Resources and Cleaner Production, the Cabinet Secretary, Ministry of Environment, Climate Change and Forestry, Ms. Soipan Tuya, reiterated government's commitment to transition Kenya from the linear model to a circular economy, adding that her ministry is ready to set any policy frameworks that will be required for the transition.
As the Kenya Kwanza administration, our key focus under the plan is focused on the people, the planet, and profits. And food security is at the core of it. An expanded tax base, livelihood support for those people at the lowest level of the pyramid. And this we want to implement through a value chain approach where we deliver as one, not just as government, but all the players, all the stakeholders.
If I look back on the experiences in Denmark we had with circular economy and why has we succeeded so far coming this far? First of all, you need a government commitment, and you need a government that sees that this is the future, and that there's a win-win for both public sector and private sector.
The Forestry Cabinet Secretary also reinforced the need for all manufacturers and stakeholders to embrace circular economy.
Since this exhibition has brought together many manufacturers, I would like to state that Kenya's industries have been engaging in linear production for far too long. I would like to emphasize that a circular economy is not about one manufacturer changing one product. It is about all of the interconnected companies that form our infrastructure and economy coming together. And that is why this exhibition is of extreme importance, hoping it is a first step towards circularity.
We said we need to be proactive about the change. Otherwise, the change will be brought on us. And I think the big measure for us, we can probably say today historically, was the plastic bag ban, which...
According to the ambassador of the Kingdom of Netherlands to Kenya, His Excellency Martin Brouwer, the current crisis facing Kenya are attributed to the effects of climate change, and a circular economy is the surest way to safeguarding the future.
And in the circular economy, really it is at the heart of reaching out on those three problems, those three crises that are happening at the same time, which is climate change, which is a loss of biodiversity, and pollution. And those three together are really forming the agenda. And it is creating a lot of new opportunities. And we just heard a number of examples for that.
In Kenya, the circular economy continues to be understood primarily as a waste management and recycling strategy by many, but the economic opportunities are far broader and more diverse. In Chapter 4 of the Constitution, in the Bill of Rights, every person has the right to a clean and healthy environment, which includes the right to have environment protected for the benefit of the present and future generations through legislative and other measures. In a bid to promote circular economy, Kenya has achieved several milestones which include the banning of use of plastic carrier bags and the ban of use of disposable PET bottles in Karura Forest in 2017, and the launch of Kenya Plastics Action Plan in November 2019, amongst others. Hilary Kabila, GBS News.
President William Ruto has made a strong call on the international community to come up with more and better ways of financing the climate action. He said for countries to successfully surmount the global crisis of climate emergency, biodiversity loss, pollution, and debt distress, more and better ways of financing were critical. President Ruto made these remarks on Saturday when he delivered his maiden speech in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, during the 36th ordinary session of the Assembly of Heads of State and Government of the AF. He said it's the same design that the post-war global financial architecture had always been ill-equipped to address the global challenges. He added that such order transcends the constraints of our geopolitical frontiers and aligns with possibilities beyond parochial hegemonic imperatives that frame the current financial model.
the robust performance of African carbon credit markets tell us we need to know about Africa as the continent of the future and the next global economic power, driven purely by clean, green industrialization and innovation. At COP27, I announced Kenya's commitment to accelerate the development of carbon markets as the next major export sector, not just for Kenya, but for Africa. Towards this end, we are presently developing a high-integrity, high-quality carbon market framework and a robust activation plan, which will soon undergo legislation in order to provide certainty and clarity for the comfort of investors. In keeping with this pledge to advance opportunities in green industrialization, as well as the Green Agenda for Africa, I am convening a Climate Action Summit in Nairobi to take place between the 4th and 6th of September 2023. There is consensus, ladies and gentlemen, in this meeting that Africa is the continent of the future. It is time to escalate this consensus and propel Africa to join the leadership of the global.
Once again, thank you for joining us through this live broadcast, and keep the comments coming in through our SMS line 21144 and GBS TV Africa in all our social media handles. Let us take our second break. We will be right back.
Nakukaribisha tena katika makao makuu yako katika ulimwengu wa michezo.
Yoga is not a sport. Yoga is actually a way of life.
Ukiona FIFA inaingilia kati, it means that the FIFA rules have been violated.
From day one akiingia kwa akademi yako, unamwambia masomo na talent lazima ziende. The moment nasikia masomo imeenda chini, hata time out. Hata hiyo time out kwa football na account.
Wanawake ni wengi actually mpaka saa hizi. Tumekaa ni kama tumekuwa wanawake wamekuwa wengi kuliko wanaume. Kuna wale ambao ni artist. Yes, wanapenda mambo ya kuigiza.
I am coded to look for solutions.
You limit yourself, not the sport doesn't limit you.
We say a dedicated women only show that focuses only on women.
Is one of the activities of IYF. IYF being an NGO focused on the empowerment of the youth, we have various activities. So one of the program now is the IYF Weekend Academy. It started way back in the year 2009. And through this, we want to empower the youth with the soft skills that are necessary for their growth. So we prepare various academies, various programs so that they can be able to be nurtured in terms of the soft skill that's needed. We say we supplement what education is doing. Education is teaching them the knowledge part of it, but for us in the Weekend Academy, we want to give that platform where they can be able to now practice what they have learned.
So my name is Eric Maura. Currently I'm doing camera operation. IYF is very important because one of the things I've gotten a chance to learn a lot through camera operation. I've also gotten a chance to host one of the shows known as SportZoom. So IYF is very good because even camera operation, I did not know there are different types of cameras. I did not know how to operate a camera. But through IYF, I've gotten a chance to know all this.
The IYF Weekend Academy teacher for the camera operations. It has been a nice experience. Seeing young men coming, learning things to do with filming, and also bringing out the passion that lays underneath. Then I'm very much happy because I know and I believe that soon they will also make a living out of it.
Everywhere, GBS.
Welcome back. And moving forward, residents of Narok Central Sub-County have benefited from 300 bags of beans and 260 bags of rice donated by the national government to benefit the hunger-stricken families. The food distributed by North Narok Member of Parliament Agnes Pareiyo and Narok Central AG Deputy County Commissioner Ali Shakur will benefit residents of Ilimshariani, Lament Sibai, Oloipito and Pulunga areas that are mainly affected by the ongoing drought. Othiambo with the full report.
Residents of Narok Central Sub-County have benefited from 300 bags of beans and 260 bags of rice donated by the national government to benefit the hunger-stricken families. Speaking during the distribution, Narok North Member of Parliament Agnes Pareiyo thanked the national government for the food donation, saying many families that mostly depend on small business for their livelihood and nothing to place on their table. The MP also pleaded with the business people not to hike food prices of foodstuff so as not to make life more difficult for the residents.
Tuko hapa tukigawa chakula ambayo tumepewa na serikali. Tumepewa gunia 300 ya maharagwe na tukapewa gunia 226 ya mchele. Na tena nataka kuomba wanabiashara wasichukue muda huu kama muda wa kufaidika. Wasiende kuendelea kuongeza bei ya chakula.
Narok Central Deputy County Commissioner Ali Shakur also thanked the government for giving food to the vulnerable communities, saying the chiefs, village elders, religious leaders, and political leaders will help to identify the most affected families that will benefit.
So tunashukuru Mheshimiwa Rais kutuletea chakula na najua zingine zitakuja. So far tumepata hizo, tunaangalia wale vulnerable groups ambazo wanaishi zile urban areas. So ni kugawa chakula, tunaangalia tunasaidiana na maafisa wetu wa mashinani, chiefs, assistant chiefs, nyumba 10. Tunahusisha pia viongozi wa wanasiasa tukiongoza hapa na Mheshimiwa kuhakikisha kwamba tuma-identify wale ambao kuna wale wa mama ambao ni single mothers ambao hawana wazee, mayatima.
The Deputy County Commissioner also warned those whom will use the food relief for personal benefits and divert from the intended purpose will face dire consequences. Additionally, he reiterated that the government has already given 19,000 bags of subsidized fertilizers in the sub-county, hence food production is expected to go high as farming has been made cheaper.
Lakini kuna ile program ambayo Mheshimiwa Rais alilaunch. Na hii ni ile program ya subsidy fertilizer ambayo imeanza kuja na Narok vile mmeelezwa na County Commissioner. So far tumepata over 19,000 zile fertilizer ambayo ni bei nafuu ambayo ni shilingi 3,500. Na hiyo tunajua mvua ikikuja mashamba saizi inatayarishwa na mimi najua tutaanza kupata chakula nyingi ya kutosha ambayo tutaweza kujilisha.
Residents of Narok Town expressed their joys as they thanked the government for the food donation, as many people in the areas were sleeping in an empty stomach because of the prevailing drought and high food prices.
Tunashukuru sana mama, mimi naitwa Mary Wanjiko, tumetoka upande ya Ropito. Mama ametusaidia sana juu sasa amekuja kutupatia chakula ya msaada. Kuna watu wengi sana hapa wanaumia njaa, ni wale tu watu hawajisemi.
Tukasema ule amejitolea, Mungu ambariki sababu tuko na jana kwa hasu kuna hasu. Na Mungu ambariki. Mchele na maharagwe. Na tukashukuru.
Narok County received depressed rains that was poorly distributed in time and space across the livelihood zones, which was below normal. Annual food inflation eased to 13.8% in December 2022. However, staple food prices in monitored markets remain unseasonably high, driven by 4 successive below-average production seasons, high fuel and transportation costs, high local demand and reduced cross-border imports from Uganda and Tanzania. Reporting for GBS News, I am James Odhiambo.
Thank you, James Odhiambo, for that detailed report. And indeed, that is indeed a step in the right direction amidst this hunger crisis. The government doing what it is doing, and we do hope more is done on the same. And on that note, for the lovers of sport, it is time for your most anticipated part of the news. Let's get sporty. Simon Karanja of UN Tigers helped his team crush Administration Police 86-63 points today at Kasarani Indoors Arena, with Simon Karanja being the man of the match. Police stand on the 8th place with 36 points as the UN stand at the 10th place with 21 points. Let's take a look.
Men's Kabaddi Season 1 continued today at Kasarani Indoors Arena with Administration Police facing UN Tigers. The match was tough for both sides on the first half as they went on a 50-50 challenge. The second half was different as UN made things hard for Administration Police as they grabbed more points on the opponent's side. They won 86 points to 63 over Administration Police, who stand at the 8th place with 36 points. UN stand at the 10th place with 21 points. Speaking after the match, UN Tigers player Simon Karanja, who was the man of the match, termed the match as tough and they really fought for the win since they played against a good side.
Game imekuwa fiti, imekuwa game intense. Timu yangu ijakuwa kidupoa kwa ligi, so lazima leo tungereact na tupate hizo pointi, na nimefurahia maboys wamejituma na tukapata hiyo ushindi.
He's saying the presence of Kenyan players on the Indian League really encourages them work extra hard, hoping they may play on Pro League too.
Kwa nikipewa motisha juu kuna players nina look up to kwa hii Kenya yetu. Hii sport si popular sana as you can see, ndio tunaanza, but kumekuwa na players wamekuwa wakidupoa, wanaenda ligi ya pro, wanarudi, and kuona wakiachieve hiyo inakumotivate kama mtu ana upcome, unajituma kuona hata wewe for the highest, because you never know what may happen. So niki look up to them the way they are doing well. Juu tuna training nao pamoja kwa national team, so I learned there and executed in the field, and I'm happy I was able to help my team today.
The Pro League in India is the most popular Kabaddi league in the world, and Kabaddi is more professional there, unlike in Kenya. Reporting for GBS TV, I'm McDonald.
10-men Talanta FC went on a 1-1 draw with Kenya Police at Kasarani Annex on Saturday, with Talanta displaying a good match after earlier losing 6-0 to AFC Leopards. Police stand on the 4th place with 28 points, while Talanta stand on the 14th place with 13 points. McDonald with a full report.
FKF Premier League matches continued during the weekend, with Talanta FC facing 4th place Kenya Police at Kasarani Annex Stadium. The match saw the two sides eager to scoop the 3 points, with Police aiming to reduce the gap between them and league leaders Gor Mahia. Talanta, on the other end, stand on the 14th place and were hoping to make a fine impression after earlier losing 6-0 to AFC Leopards last weekend. The match ended on a 1-1 draw, with Talanta completing the match one man less after conceding a red card on the 55th minute. Speaking after the match, Talanta coach Ken Kenyatta termed the match as tough, and he signed really fought to hold attackers from well-organized police team.
Nafikiri mechi imekuwa sawa, tumecheza vizuri. It's only that tulipata the first let's say the first 5 minutes on the second half tulipata red card. Nafikiri tumekuwa under pressure kwa sababu tumecheza less.
He termed the penalty awarded on the 55th minute as unfair, but he has hopes that they will win the coming match.
Instance kama hiyo penalty, mi siwezi support kwa sababu goalkeeper wangu alisave ball, ula akakuja akajikongesha kwa goalkeeper. Nafikiri kwangu mimi hiyo nafikiri ni dispute kwangu kwamba it wasn't a genuine penalty, but nashukuru my players wamefight. I think hiyo fight tukienda hii draw tumepiga, game ina come next itabidi tu tushinde game. Yeah.
On the other end, Francis Baranza of Kenya Police saying that he anticipated that the match would be tough and warned his players not to underestimate Talanta. He condemned Talanta players of the indiscipline they displayed today in the game after the referee awarding Police the penalty.
Jaribu kupongeza vijana na nitasema kuwa imekuwa mechi ngumu. Wengi walidharau. From the word go mtu amegwa goli 6, wengi walikuja na hiyo mentality kuwa leo tunaenda kupiga mtu goli nyingi. Lakini mimi nilijua mchezo utageuka. Maana ukiangalia timu vijana wangu pia niliwaambia tangu mazoezi nikamwambia kuwa ni timu msiende kubeza. Mimi kwa upande wa uamuzi mimi siwezi ongea. Maana yake pale mwamuzi mwenyewe jukumu ni lake. Maana yake kupata wachezaji kama wanakwenda kwa referee namna ile alafu wengine na gusa. Referee alikuwa na uwezo wewe mwenyewe. Naona wa kutoa wachezaji kama 2 3. Manake nidhamu kweli. Kitu cha kwanza mimi kwa wachezaji wangu siwezi kubali kitendo kama hicho. Awe askari siwezi kubali kitendo kama hicho. Kilo amekifanya nafikiri si kizuri vijana, nafikiri mwenzangu coach mwenzangu amekiona na amekiongelea labda hapa. So watajaribu kuweza kuifanyia kazi na kuweza kuendelea na mechi zinazokuja.
Reporting for GBS TV, I'm McDonald.
And now to international sports news. Big spending. Chelsea lost to bottom place at Southampton at Stamford Bridge, putting a lot of pressure on Graham Potter. On the other hand, early goals from Darwin Núñez and Cody Gakpo on the 10th and 17th minute respectively gave Liverpool their second win this year on the Premier League, while Marcus Rashford of Manchester United scored his 16th goal since return from World Cup as United crashed Leicester 3-0 despite a poor first half. Here are the details.
Manchester United crushed Leicester 3-0 at Old Trafford yesterday, easily as they moved within 5 points to the top of the Premier League. Leicester dominated the first half with De Gea making important save to mop up the defenders' mess. Rashford opened the scores for United on the 25th minute, doubled on the 54th minute before Sancho adding the third on the 61st minute to effectively kill the contest Leicester and brought on the first half. United stand at the third place with 49 points, 3 points below Manchester City and 5 points below leaders Arsenal. Leicester, on the other hand, stand at the 14th place with 24 points. Bukayo Saka, Shinzeko, Emi Martinez's own goal and Martinelli's goal gave Arsenal a crucial win at Villa Park Stadium. Arsenal started off with an early score by Watkins on the 5th minute before Bukayo Saka leveling on the 16th minute. Former Liverpool Felipe Coutinho doubled the scores for Villa on the 32nd minute, making things 2-1 on the first half. Arsenal played with a lot of intelligence, seeking to reclaim their first place. They came back in the second half with Martinez's own goal on the 61st minute before Martinelli sealing the win on the stoppage time to give Arsenal a crucial 4-2. Liverpool secured their second win this year as they crushed 4th place Newcastle 2-0. Darwin Núñez opened the scores for Liverpool on the 10th minute before Cody Gakpo doubling it 7 minutes later. Things got even worse when Nick Pope of Newcastle was then carded on the first half for handling the ball outside his penalty area. Eddie Howe's side seemed to threaten Liverpool despite them being a one-man down, with Dan Burn eating the crossbar. On the other hand, Emerson and Son Heung-min goals broke West Ham resilience and went straight to the top 4 as most spending Potter's side lost to bottom side Southampton when James Ward-Prowse's trademark free kick curled into the net, leaving Kepa Arrizabalaga sprawling. Chelsea stand at the 10th place with at 1 point, while Southampton stand at the 20th place with just 18 points. Reporting for GBS TV, I'm McDonald.
Thank you, McDonald, for that detailed report. And that marks the end of our news segment tonight. And of course, do remember, here at GBS News 9, we make your news our business. My name is Viti Sunjeri. Our sign language interpreter is Paul Mathenge. And a big thank you to everyone who made this a success. And good night.
Everywhere, GBS.
Nakukaribisha tena katika makao makuu yako katika ulimwengu wa michezo.
Yoga is not a sport. Yoga is actually a way of life.
Ukiona FIFA inaingilia kati, it means that the FIFA